Dosage with B12. I was reading, 2 micrograms a day. I read that 500 micrograms a day can increase, lung cancer in some people. What do you recommend as far as B12 per day for a vegan? And if a vegan forgets for 2 months, what do you recommend?
So 2,500 micrograms of cyanocobalamin once a week. So all the B12 you need. It costs less than $5 a year. If you want to get into the habit of taking something daily as opposed to weekly, I'd recommend 250 micrograms once a day. If you don't want to take supplements at all and just want to do fortified foods, yeah, you could, but you want to have 2 to 3 servings a day of a B12 fortified food, which is at least 25% of your daily value, like on the nutrition facts label, separated by 4 to 6 hours. So if you'd like 2 teaspoons of nutrition these 3 times a day, yeah, you can do it, but it's probably easier to just take supplements. And of course, nutrition yeast doesn't have B12 just naturally. It has to be added, fortified with B12. Otherwise, it doesn't have any B12 in it whatsoever.
Is there a such thing as too much vitamin D3 for vegans or anyone?
Yeah, it's a fat-soluble vitamin. Any fat-soluble vitamin you can get too much of.
What is too much D3?
Anything under 10,000 international units a day is not going to hurt anybody. So I recommend 2,000 international units a day of D3. But if that's not enough, you can go. It depends on how much midday sun you're getting, what latitude you are, how white you are, how skinny you are, how old you are, how much skin you have exposed. But 2,000 international units for most people should do it.
Okay. Is there an upper limit of B12 consumption?
So it's a water-soluble vitamin, right? And so, the reason you can store up so long is because your liver has this really intricate mechanism by which it maintains B12, which gives us a sense of how little B12 we were exposed to kind of in our prehistoric history. The fact that we have such amazing mechanisms to hold on to it, where, for example, vitamin C, we just lost the capacity to make it completely because we just stuffing our face with plants all day. Any excess B12 should just be expensive P. Some studies in my stack on B12 and acne. There's the lung cancer article, so I'll go through there and see if there's anything to it.
I was really intrigued by a video that I saw of yours regarding miso and not increasing blood pressure.
Yeah,
is there a limit to the amount of miso that I can put into a dish? Obviously, it gets really salty, but is there a limit as far as miso goes?
The studies were done with these Japanese populations who are eating bowls of miso soup a day. So presumably that's a lot of miso.
Tremendous amount of sodium.
That's a lot of sodium. So you'd presume, the 2 things we worry about with excess sodium consumption is hypertension. It's the #1 risk factor for death in the world, and then stomach cancer. But people that eat miso don't have higher blood pressures and don't have higher stomach cancer risk. So what we think is happening is that the protective benefits of the soy, so whole soy food, is counteracting the negative effects of the sodium, such that it actually has a neutral beneficial effect. Now you say, well, wait a second. Why not instead just eat edamame or something, get all the soy benefits without the sodium negative, and so wouldn't that be even better? Maybe. It's a great way to add like a salty taste to a dish without increasing disease risk.
So the salt, oil, sugar-free diet. For a lot of people, salt is really hard to cut back on.
Yeah,
They're really used to eating salt, including myself.
Yeah.
If I just switch over to miso, I'm fine? Is that what that means?
That's what that means. So anything, that's how I make food salty. So you just add it to dressings, to sauces, to anything you want.
As far as acrylamide goes, eating a bowl or 2 bowls of cereal a day, is that bad for a vegan to eat?
Cereal is just so processed. It's just, it's just so little. So eat some oatmeal or something. But I wouldn't be worried. So the acrylamide data has been getting weaker with time, right? And so what was the latest? There were endometrial cancer was the biggest concern, and that seemed to have gone away. I'd be much more concerned about AGEs, advanced glycation end products, which are produced with high protein, high fat food. So it's really the roasted nuts. So I stay away from roasted nuts and seeds, roasted nuts and seed butters, and kind of high temperature cooked, dry temperature cooking methods, something like tofu. It's a high protein, high fat food, so I wouldn't grill tofu. That would be much more concerning, is the glycotoxins, which of course mostly in meat, but there are certain high protein, high fat foods like nuts that you wouldn't want to expose to high temperatures.
What are some upcoming studies on nutritionfacts.org that we should keep our eyes peeled? Things that are sort of maybe surprising you right now.
I have a cannabis series coming up, maybe 20 videos on cannabis coming up. I'm going to do a 4-hour webinar. That should be interesting, both edible, smokable. I'm going to do a mammogram series. That's a 13-video series. I'm going to do kind of a how to read a research paper kind of webinar, which will go through a long series of papers. Fasting. I've got a whole bunch of a long series on fasting, intermittent fasting, ketogenic diets, meal timing, meal frequency, whether to eat breakfast or not. That's going to be a massive series. I mean, those are the kind of the big projects I'm working on.
Thank you very much for watching. This is Dr. Greger. I am Ken Spector with HappyCow. He's from nutritionfacts.org. Hit the subscribe button below and hit the bell for notifications. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.